guys? Lawrence Burchett with Reality's Edge. So, we're still in the middle of doing the Bigfoot series. And this one, you're going to start hearing some similarities in a lot of the stories. Last week we did the Pacific Northwest and some of the stories, claims, and reports up there. This week we're going to move into the Southwest United States. Now, every region in the United States has some sort of Bigfoot lore or Bigfoot stories that happen, reports, the whole nine yards. So today we're going to kind of focus around Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, a little bit of Colorado, not a whole lot. That whole Utah area, we're going to focus in that general vicinity. Now, as far as the Southwest, there are 5 main states, and it just depends on who you talk to and what maps you look at. And some of them, parts of Oklahoma, parts of California, parts of Texas, are actually part of the Southwest as well. So we're going to go a little bit into California because of the Sierra Nevada mountains. But for the most part, we're going to stay with Nevada, New Mexico, Arizona, Utah, Colorado a little bit. Now, the first one I would like to talk about is in the Sierra Nevada mountains. There's a tribe that they date their history back about 9,000 years. And they call themselves the Washoe tribe. And they are the same tribe that guided Kit Carson through the Sierra Nevada mountains. And they were also the tribe that, the survivors of the Donner Party, they were the first ones to bring, food and supplies to them when they were stranded during the winter. And they spoke of, I'm probably going to butcher this, but they spoke of a people called the I'm gonna try this. If I mispronounce it, I apologize. Te-Ka tribe. Or Te-Ka tribe. Now, they were a large red-haired giant. And all of the reports, at least the descriptions, kind of the description is a Bigfoot. Supposedly at one point in their history, they were at war with them, and they chased a bunch of them into a cave system, piled a bunch of brush up, and lit the brush on fire and smoked them out. Basically killed them in their caves. That's the legend. Now, as we've spoke before, there are a lot of reports of Bigfoot, chasing people out, being very territorial. And this might well be one of them. And some of these reports go back to the early 1900s. There were supposedly mummified remains found in many locations, found in caves in the early 1900s under bat guano from guano miners. And basically what they did is they'd go into these caves, these big piles of bat poop. They used it to make gunpowder. Now, many places, rugged mountainous areas, heavily wooded areas, places where you don't have a lot of human population, when people do go into those areas, there's, reports. And that's not just in the Southwest. We spoke about it in the Pacific Northwest last week. And we also spoke about it with the Nahanni Valley the week prior. So they tend to stay away, I believe. But every now and then you have overlaps. And it just cannot be helped. The next place I want to go is New Mexico. Now, I really wasn't able to find a whole lot in New Mexico except for a couple of reports. There's a report I'm not sure exactly when this was. I'm going to say the early 2000s, maybe prior to 2010 or around 2010. There was a guy that claimed that he had an infrared video at the San Juan River area in New Mexico, and he claimed to have it on the infrared camera on infrared video. You can actually Google the New Mexico Bigfoot sighting, and you can come up with that one. Also, there was a guy by the name of Rob Krieger. He's a New Mexico naturalist, and he has believed since the 90s that Bigfoot has been in the Sandias area. Now we're going to move over to Arizona. Now, Arizona is kind of interesting. Back in 1903, there was a report of a Bigfoot-like creature near the Grand Canyon. Now, the creature in Arizona that's described is often a little bit different. It's large, it's hairy, but it's got red glowing eyes or red eyes. And it was seen a lot by, like, your miners and ranchers and stuff. And then moving on, later in years, there's been many more sightings of a similar creature, at least. Maybe not the same one, but similar creature around the Mogollon Rim area. I will get a picture posted there at some point of the Mogollon Rim region, and that's actually give this creature its name, the Mogollon Monster. Similar story, black to brown, even possibly reddish hair with red eyes. It's been seen by a lot of people. That's Arizona's very own Bigfoot. There's even been reports, in Colorado and in Utah. Now in Utah is pretty crazy place. You have Skinwalker Ranch. You have the Blind Frog Ranch. Now both of those are actually on television. They've got shows of both of them. Now, how many of the reports in Utah are a Skinwalker, or vice versa? How many of the reports about Skinwalker in Utah, how many of them have actually been Bigfoot? Now, we'll get into Skinwalker in another video some other time, but right now, we're just going to stick with the Bigfoot stories. But Utah is pretty notorious. There's this one story I will get into. A guy said that he lived in an area kind of outside of town. I'm not exactly sure. I'm going to guess around Salt Lake City somewhere. And they had like a little neighborhood, but it was outside of town near a really heavily wooded area. And this guy, he raised German Shepherds. And at one point in time, his German Shepherds started getting killed. Well, he actually saw a creature, and it was what he described as an upright walking canine. Once again, off topic a little bit, but not really, because several months later, some of the residents in that community claimed that they had seen a Bigfoot. And at one point in time, they claimed that they heard a fight take place between the Bigfoot and the Dogman. So not all Bigfoot lore, not all the stories, Bigfoot stories are, of them being violent towards people. There's even some stories. There's one I want to say in Colorado of a man and his wife, or girlfriend maybe, they may not have been married, had went camping. And they were out in the back country, probably 20 miles from the nearest civilization. And supposedly her boyfriend or husband or whatever he was, I guess the cheese slid off his cracker. And he took to, whipping up on her, trying to hurt her, trying to kill her maybe. And a Bigfoot supposedly intervened and rescued her and carried her 20 miles to a town. Uh, Now, it's just a report that I heard. I'm not 100% sure. I think it was Colorado, but it may not have been. But here's a correlation. Just like in the Pacific Northwest, a lot of the indigenous people in the Southwest, be it whether it be the Hopi, the Navajo, the Washoe, Utes, a lot of the people, the Apache, they all have a creature that lives in the woods, a big hairy creature that lives in the woods. And just like in the Pacific Northwest, a lot of them have stories where they've told their children, don't leave the security of the village after dark. And there are, in just about every region that we're going to cover, there are some stories of children disappearing, and they believe it to be, maybe the rogue Sasquatch. I spoke in the Pacific Northwest video about Thomas Seward. He said that, or he claims that just like human beings, there are some of the Sasquatch or the Bigfoot that will just go rogue and just, because we have bad people. There are some people will just, they're just inherently bad people and they do bad stuff. And he claims that you'll have the same thing with Bigfoot. He also, claimed that a lot of them are very peaceful. They just want to be left alone. And I can't say that I blame them. I mean, a lot of times I want to be left alone. So, but they do it to protect themselves. And, also I'm sure I haven't read any reports or heard anything about like girls specifically being targeted and taken by Bigfoot, like up in the Pacific Northwest. But that, just because I haven't heard of it doesn't mean that it doesn't go on. And some of the warnings and some of the sightings could also be like in the Utah area, Utah, Colorado area. It could be Skinwalker or Wendigo even. But I'd say that it's possible that some of the Skinwalker or Wendigo reports could very well have been Bigfoot as well. But we're not talking about Skinwalker or Wendigo. We're talking about Bigfoot, big hairy dude. So I think that's where we're going to wrap it up today, guys. I think we're gonna call this part 1 of the series, and probably going to take a little break from Bigfoot for a while. I have some other stuff that I'd like to talk about. I'm still looking for you guys to send me some stories. If you've had any strange happenings, any kind of strange experiences, write down the story about it. Send it to me. The email address, it'll be at the end of the video. I'm going to start posting it in the description again. It's not a clickable link, but you can write it down and send it to me. Yeah, get me stories. And if you're just a creative writer and you want to get some stories heard, send me some of those. Tell me if you want your name, if you want credit for it as far as putting your name out there. If you do, great. We'll give you credit for it. If not, that's fine too. Email address is realitysedge514@gmail.com. I'd love to hear the stories. I really want to start doing a video every week with just telling stories. And that's it. Nothing more. But like I said, guys, I think we're going to take a little break from the Bigfoot series for a minute, and got some other stuff that I feel like needs to be said. And do me a favor, guys. Love yourselves. Love each other. Peace out.